I'm Teisha Bader with Shalom TV's news update for Wednesday, October the 16th, 2013. Israel held an official state memorial ceremony today, marking 18 years since former Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin was assassinated. The ceremony was held at Jerusalem's Mount Herzl Cemetery with the participation of Rabin's family, President Shimon Peres, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, as well as Knesset Speaker Yuli Edelstein and Supreme Court President Asher Grunis. Rabin was assassinated on November the 4th, 1995 by Jewish right-wing extremist Yigal Amir. At the ceremony, President Peres referred to Rabin's goal of peace with the Palestinians and to the current peace negotiations. Peres said those who delude themselves that the status quo between us and the Palestinians will continue may become a victim of their delusions. Leaders are tested, he said, by the goals they set for the nation, by finding ways to achieve those goals, even when reality seems daunting. Peres further said Yitzhak Rabin understood this and had the courage to take hold of history and shape its direction. Peres said the peace process was often a heartbreaking one, but that the need to make historical decisions remained. And Prime Minister Netanyahu spoke after Peres, saying that Israel is obligated to carry on Rabin's goal of reaching peace with the Palestinians. He also added, though, that Rabin also knew that peace could only be achieved if Israel maintained its security and military strength. Netanyahu said only through our enemies understanding our power can we make peace with our neighbors. The Prime Minister further said Rabin worked toward achieving peace with our neighbors, and we remain committed to this goal until today. Netanyahu also addressed Peres' remarks that peace is made with enemies, adding, but peace is made with enemies who desire peace. Enemies that do not desire peace, that desire to wipe us off the map, are not partners for peace. Both Netanyahu and Peres vowed at today's ceremony that Rabin's murderer, Yigal Amir, would never be pardoned. And at an event held Saturday night in Rabin Square, where the assassination took place, over 30,000 people gathered to pay tribute to the leader, including his grandson, Yonatan ben Artzi, who called on Prime Minister Netanyahu to take the opportunity of the current peace talks with the Palestinians. Ben Artzi said, "My grandfather was murdered over peace, and you owe this peace to us, to all of us." Israel's Strategic Affairs Minister Yuval Steinitz told the Knesset Foreign Affairs and Defense Committee today that Israel was hopeful about nuclear talks with Iran, but concerned. As talks were in their second day today in Geneva for the P5+1, Steinitz said the state of Israel is not closing the door to a diplomatic solution. If an agreement is signed preventing Iran from having nuclear capabilities, we will be happy with it. But he said the concern for us is that Geneva 2013 will turn into Munich 1938, referring to the agreement struck by Western European powers and Nazi Germany before World War II. Steinitz said history has seen agreements that were celebrated by the world only to see it lead to war. Meanwhile, French news agency AFP reported that during talks in Geneva today, Iran seemed to suggest it would be willing to accept snap inspections of its nuclear sites by international officials. Iran had presented a three-phase proposal to ending its nuclear program at the talks, which included adding a protocol to the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, mandating unannounced inspections of Iranian nuclear sites. The Times of Israel reported that Iranian Deputy Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi told Israel Radio in a rare interview today that Israel would be able to live in peace with any deal reached by Iran and world powers. He said any agreement reached will open new horizons in our relations with all states. And when Israel Radio's reporter Gidon Kutz asked Araghchi whether Israel would be able to live in peace with whatever deal would be reached between Western powers and the Islamic Republic, Araghchi responded yes. The next round of negotiations between the permanent members of the UN Security Council, which are the US, Russia, China, France, Britain, plus Germany, known as the P5+1, are set to take place next month. In the continuing drama over the burial of Nazi war criminal Erich Priebke, it seems that despite reports yesterday that Priebke was going to be buried by fringe Catholic order, the Society of St. Pius X, at their church near Rome, that his funeral was halted due to protest. As we reported to you, Priebke, who died Friday at the age of 100, was found guilty of overseeing the massacre of 335 people during the Holocaust. Several countries and cities had refused to bury him, including Rome. However, the Society of St. Pius X, a Catholic order whose representatives have charged contemporary Jews with deicide and whose bishop, Richard Williamson, has made statements denying the Holocaust, had announced that they would hold a funeral for the former SS captain. But rioting yesterday of people protesting the funeral, yelling executioner and murderer at his casket, caused police to bar friends and relatives of Priebke from entering the church. And Priebke's lawyer called for the funeral to be called off. The Anti-Defamation League yesterday had expressed outrage at the SSPX's proposed funeral for the Nazi war criminal. ADL National Director and Holocaust survivor Abe Foxman said the Society of St. Pius X never fails to shock, and this latest decision to honor Priebke with a funeral just reinforces their history of anti-Semitism. First they denied the Holocaust, and now they're denying the acts of a perpetrator. Foxman added, Errol Priebke was a monster. He does not deserve the dignity and respect of a proper church burial. His remains should be scattered at sea without a ceremony so that his final resting place cannot become a site of pilgrimage for racists to venerate him. The Times of Israel reported that negotiations were reportedly underway with Germany to take Priebke's remains. A survey conducted among more than 5,100 Jews by the European Union Agency for Fundamental Rights showed that a fourth of respondents said they avoid visiting places and wearing symbols that identify them as Jews for fear of anti-Semitism. The survey, which was conducted over the past year beginning in September of 2012 and ending this past month, was conducted online in France, Britain, Belgium, Germany, Sweden, Italy, Hungary, Romania, and Latvia, and reflected a general increase in anti-Semitism. In Hungary, 91% of more than 500 respondents said that anti-Semitism has increased there in the past 5 years. 88% said the same in France, 87% in Belgium, 80% in Sweden. In Germany, Italy, and Britain, approximately 60% of those who responded expressed a growth in anti-Semitism, with 39% in Latvia. The results of the survey were addressed at a two-day conference in Kiev, Ukraine this week, organized by Ukrainian parliament member Alexander Feldman. The conference, titled From the Beilis Trial to Berlin and Beyond, was held on the 100th anniversary of the anti-Semitic blood libel trial against Menachem Mendel Beilis, who was acquitted after being accused of killing a Christian child to use his blood for rituals. Feldman said individual states need to address anti-Semitism, not for the sake of the current generation, but to prevent the worsening of the situation for the following one. The Conference of Presidents of Major American Jewish Organizations held their 50th anniversary tribute last night in New York City, honoring past presidents as well as longtime Executive Vice Chairman Malcolm Hoenlein. Video testimonials were featured at the gala from President Barack Obama, as well as from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and remarks from several Israeli and U.S. politicians, including former President George W. Bush. Bush, Obama, and Netanyahu all praised the Conference of Presidents for its work in supporting Israel and for strengthening the U.S.-Israel relationship. And Malcolm Hoenlein is Mark Golub's guest tonight on L'Chaim at 9, where he discusses Prime Minister Netanyahu's recent address at the United Nations General Assembly, among other issues. That's tonight at 9 here on Shalom TV and ShalomTV.com. And that's Shalom TV's news update for Wednesday, October the 16th, 2013. I'm Teisha Bader.